Hello my lovelies. This week's Coping with Fibro episode is going to be about the information that you should take with you to doctor's appointments in order to get your diagnosis. Now this could be your initial appointments with your GP or right up to going to see a rheumatologist for your actual diagnosis. And what I did was I sat down and I wrote down things that I took with me to my doctor's appointments and talked to them, and then did the same thing for my rheumatology appointments. I actually sat Monday week ago with my lovely friend Hannah and went through this information with her as well, so that whenever she was going to her appointment the following day, that she would have this all with her to get the diagnosis that she needed. And with this information and also what she already knew, she went to her appointment and got her diagnosis of fibromyalgia. So it's a bittersweet thing, because it's really good to get your diagnosis, but it's also really bad to have another thing under your belt that's wrong with you. Because I don't know about you guys, but I know for me that fibromyalgia certainly wasn't the first thing I was diagnosed with. For me, whenever I was 18, I was diagnosed with arthritis, and that was in my wrists, and they said that over time that it would spread. They couldn't give me a time frame. It depended on my genetics and all that sort of thing. But I would deteriorate. I also had a lot of back issues, and they were concerned about my muscles in my back then, and said if it kept going at the rate that it was going, I would end up in a wheelchair by the time I was 30. The unfortunate thing is for me, I turned 30 in a couple of months. Now, we didn't know at that time, this was going back 12 years ago, we didn't know at that time what was wrong with me. We just knew there was something wrong with my muscles, that the way they were deteriorating with the pain and everything, that it was gradually getting worse. But it took until this time last year, to actually get a diagnosis, and that was because every time I was going to the doctors, I wasn't putting everything together and talking about it all together. I would maybe go with things like my back pain. I would go with that. I also went at one point about my wrists, and that was whenever I was diagnosed with my arthritis. I went because I couldn't sleep. I went because I had depression, and not at one time were all these things put together and thought of as one thing. So what I want to do for you guys, if you haven't got your diagnosis yet, is to go through the information that I now know is vital to getting your diagnosis of what is actually wrong with you. If you're at a stage where you know something is wrong with you, you're going through a lot of pain, a lot of fatigue, but you don't know what it is, or you think you may have fibromyalgia, well, this could help you. This could push you forward to getting that diagnosis. So what I want to do is start going through some of this information, and what I suggest is to get yourself a notebook, get a pen, write these things down, write how it affects you, and to each and every appointment that you go to, take this information with you. I do also recommend that you do a video diary. If you check my Coping with Fibro episode last week, which was the initial review on the Fibro Map app, it's a bit of a tongue twister, a Fibro Map app. If you check out that, if you have an Android phone, you'll be able to download that now. Unfortunately, it's not available for iPhones and Windows phones yet. It will be coming out for iPhone and also Kindle soon, so if you have either one of those, it should be out soon. So anyway, I'm going to get stuck in and talk to you about the list that I have. And obviously the first thing to talk to the doctor about is your pain. And what you want to do is sit down like this. This is what I did. And this is basically what I do each morning. I wake up. Imagine I'm lying in bed. The legs are outstretched. I'm lying in bed. I wake up. Before I've even opened my eyes, I'm thinking, okay, how are my feet? And I try to move my feet. If there's too much pain, I go, okay, I need a few minutes and then I think about my legs and my knees, and then moving up, and each time I'm sort of taking a mental note of the pain, I think of my hips and my lower back, and then obviously my upper back, the middle, and then my arms, my hands. I try and move my fingers, and then finally I'll open my eyes, and generally that's whenever I realise whether I've got a pounding headache as soon as I wake up, which isn't uncommon, unfortunately. So what you want to do is, at any one point of the day, sit down and write down the locations that you have pain in your body, because it's one thing to say that you have widespread pain or you have pain all over your body, but there could be simple places that you may not have pain. You need to write those down as well. So the first one then obviously is your pain locations, and also if you write a note each day of the level of pain that you've got from 1 to 10, 1 being I'm doing grand, there's no pain here at all, 10 being please help, I feel like I'm dying. At the moment I'm probably around 6, I would say 5 to 6 for me this evening. When I woke up this morning I was at a 9. My average pain levels would be 5 to 6, and that's what I've begun to know as normal. And that's where you get to the point where whenever people say, how are you today? And you say, oh, I'm okay. Because for people who live with a chronic illness, okay doesn't mean okay in normal terms. But anyway, so if you write down each day the level of pain and then work out what your average level is, and take that with you to the doctor so that they know on average how your pain levels are. Also write down if you know of anything in your life that triggers it off. Is it stress at work? Is it stress at home? Is it cold? Is it things like that? And is there specific times of day when your pain is at its worst? My pain tends to be at its worst first thing whenever I wake up, and also in the middle of the day. And the same goes with my fatigue as well. Once I hit the middle of the day, I am totally exhausted and can barely stay awake. I end up nearly falling asleep. But anyway, we'll get to that later. Also write down what current medications you're on. If you're on medication for anything pain-wise already, it's worth noting. If you're on any medication for other illnesses or things like that, because sometimes your body can have reactions to other medications that can cause you to sort of mimic the symptoms of illnesses. Also, do you remember how long you've had this illness? Do you remember when there was a time whenever you didn't? Because it's an interesting thing to think back on as well, if you know how long you've actually had this pain. And how is your pain during the night? You know, do you sleep? Does it keep you awake? Can you get out of bed once you've laid down? How is it when you wake up, and how's your pain at bedtime? Those are things to do with your pain that I think are really, really important that you take note of to talk to your doctor about, because there are things that they're going to want to know is how extreme your pain is at different times of the day, what different things in your life can change your pain, So moving on to sleep then, because we're just talking about what your pain is like in bed, and one of the most important things to do with the fatigue side of it is you want to get as much sleep as you can, but unfortunately with fibromyalgia comes sleep disturbances, and it is a vicious circle because the less sleep you get, the more tired you are and the weaker your body is, and the more pain you're going to be in, which I understand is one of the hardest things to go through. I actually had a bit of a unfortunate incident with the doctors the other day when she was trying to tell me if you exercise more, you would sleep at night and then your pain wouldn't be bad. In fact, it would probably go away. Anyway, we'll not even talk about that. If you want to hear about that, go over to my vlogging channel and you'll get a wee snippet of how I felt about that. So, on average, how many hours do you sleep at night? Is it a restful sleep? Or do you wake up a lot? And do you struggle to get over? For example, for me, it takes me normally quite a few hours to get to sleep at night. And when I do, I wake up quite a few times. There's some nights that I wake up around every half hour to 45 minutes. There's sometimes it's an hour to an hour and a half. Very, very rare occasion. In fact, probably twice a month. And when you put it into terms like that, it's quite scary, but twice a month I would probably sleep the whole way through the night. And it's probably my body getting to the point where it's so exhausted that it just zonks me out, and I sleep all night, and then I struggle to be awake during the following day. For example, for me that was Sunday night past. I was asleep around midnight, I think, and when my husband was getting up the next morning, he couldn't wake me up, and he came back in around lunchtime, still couldn't get me to wake up. I could not. I was awake for a wee while, did a bit of vlogging, and then I dozed off again while I was talking and things like that. So I ended up just lying down. I think I ended up getting up around 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon and sat down here in the living room looking like a zombie. So once I'd come down the stairs and was sitting here, I kind of just kept drifting in and out of sleep the whole evening. And then it was back to normality that night, you know, where I couldn't sleep properly all night. I got about 3 hours in the morning, I would say between 6 and 9, and then I'm generally awake for the rest of the day. As I say, I do hit my bottom out point in mid-afternoon and really could do with a nap. Some days I can nap, some days I can't, it just depends. And that nap won't last any longer than an hour. So, as I say, keep the sleep in mind as well. Write notes about that, how you sleep. Also, one of the things to keep in mind to do with sleep and your pain is, are you even able to get out of bed at night? And that brings me to mobility. Do you need help to get from your bed to the bathroom if you need to go to the toilet during the night? I know for me, most of the time, I would say about 6 or 7 out of 10 times, I need help to get from my bed to the bathroom during the night, because my body gets to such an extreme point. It's almost as if it's all seized up and I can't actually move my body properly, and just putting my feet down actually is really sore. So that's one of the things that you need to think about as well, how your pain is during the night. Does it stop you from getting out of bed? And does it stop you from sleeping as well? So moving on from that to the mobility, can you walk unaided is one of the biggest things that that actually reminds me, my doctor actually commented that I use a walking stick now. Do you know, it's really frustrating whenever you think of it like that, because I've seen that doctor on and off since I was a baby. Doctors know me all my life, and I've seen her throughout my diagnosis process and twice this year already, and I've been using a walking stick since July 2012. And this is now November 13, and she said to me on Monday, I see you're using a walking stick now. You know, that's really frustrating for me, for the sheer fact that she should know that. It should be in the notes that I'm using a walking stick. Anyway, I hope for you guys that your GPs and rheumatologists are more supportive than mine is. So anyway, if you can walk unaided, how much can you walk? How long can you walk for before you actually need to stop? Or if you know the exact distance, which is in so many of the application forms for disability, etc., write that down. Unfortunately for me, I don't. I know that I can walk for 5 minutes unaided, and by that stage my hips are agony, my knees are agony, my upper back really hurts. So for the past year and a half I've been using a walking stick all the time because it gives me more support, so I don't get to 5 minutes and be in so much pain that I have to stop. So if you can't walk unaided, what sort of aid do you use? Do you have a walking stick, a rollator? Are you in a wheelchair? Was it provided by your doctors, or was it something that you decided that you needed yourself? I know that there is a lot of people who decide to use things like that without even going to the doctor because they know that the doctor isn't going to be helpful for them. In the mornings, can you wash and dress yourself, or do you need assistance? Can you use things like buttons or zippers? Sometimes they're really fiddly and hard for people to get used to whenever their pain is so extreme. Can you prepare meals for yourself as well? I know for myself I try and make meals that are so simple. I love winter time because you can throw loads of things into a casserole dish or into a slow cooker and just leave it, because I'm unable to stand for long periods of time stirring food or cutting things up or adding different ingredients in over time and that kind of thing. I do apologise if you can see the fly that's going around here. Is it just me? Is it not supposed to be at this time of the year you don't really see flies? Did I make that up? Because sometimes I think in my head that I make things up by myself. Anyway, so moving on from that, one of the last things that I also think is really important to talk to the doctors about is work. Has it caused you to stop working? If not, how long do you work? Do you work part-time, full-time? Does it affect your work? Are you in and out of work a lot? For me, up until last June, I was working. However, I was in and out of work over time. Going back to when I was 18, I was working in a nursing home, and I started getting real extreme pain in my back, and I had hurt myself in work. It was my fault. It wasn't down to work or anything like that, so there was no issues with work there. But anyway, I left work then and I took a job in an office because I thought it would be less strain on me. Within a few months was whenever it came up while I was working in a solicitor's. I was working as a secretary. It came up that I was getting arthritis in my wrists, so it ended up I was having really bad swollen wrists and things like that, so I had to stop working there. I wasn't able to be a secretary anymore, so I moved on from there. What did I do after that? Do you know, I don't remember what I did after that. I must have moved on from there to working as a stock controller. And it was much easier because I wasn't using my wrists as much. But it was working there that I really hit. If you talked to me a year and a half ago, 2 years ago let's say, I would have said it was while I was working in Neil's Flour Mill in Belfast as a stock controller that I hit rock bottom. Unfortunately now I've seen what rock bottom really is, I hope. But anyway, I ended up in so much pain with my back that I would be sitting in work in the mornings with my back against the radiator trying to soothe the pain and release my muscles because it was just so extreme. I would be sitting crying every single morning. My boss would come in. I would start at 7 for the lorries coming in early, and by 9 o'clock whenever my boss came in, I would be in so much pain and my eyes would be so red from crying that my boss would send me straight home. And that happened so much, and I would go into work as many days as I possibly could until I physically could go in no more. And it ended up that it looked like it looked like a pattern of sickness for me, which was a Friday and a Monday. And it kind of ended up going against me, even though my boss could see clearly that I was going in all those days in absolute pain. But anyway, that was a long time ago. So I wasn't happy working there and was thinking that the stress of working there was making my pain even more, so I moved on to another place, and for the most part I wasn't too bad. I ended up then getting a lot of pain in my left shoulder. Was it my left shoulder? Yeah, my left shoulder. And ended up with my arm in a sling for a while. I wasn't allowed to move my shoulder because of the pain in it, so I had to have that for a few days. And to answer phones I had a headset then and was using my right hand just for typing one-handed. Again, I only lasted there about 6 months. It didn't work out because of my chronic pain. So from there I moved on. I'm not going to go through each and every job, but what I'm saying is over the past 11 years I have been in and out of jobs because my pain has got to the point where it's not working out with the positions that I've got. I did end up a couple of years ago going back into nursing, into a nursing home, and I absolutely adored it. I was working nights, and I did think last year that was the reason why I was in so much pain, was because I'd overdone it with working in that position. And I thought whenever I came out sick in June that a month, and if I was off for a month I could rest and then I would be able to go back to work again. Fortunately, here we are the following November, a year and a half later, and that didn't really work out for me. So I am at a position now where this is what I do. YouTube is what I do. I am hoping in the new year to start a part-time course in beauty therapy and nail technician. I've also contacted a local beauty salon and asked them about the possibility of coming to work with them as a trainee while I'm studying that, so that I can gain some experience. I really hope that works out. It may only be 1-2 days a week, which would be brilliant, because if my course is one night a week, that's 3 days out of 7 where I will have things to do, and it's a small transition into working again, because there's no way I could go back into full-time work straight away. But anyway, that's about me for another day. With regards to pain, which is a very important thing to talk about with your doctor as well, because obviously if you're not working because of your pain, he'll want to know when the last time you did work. Did you stop because of it? And do you get benefits? Because if you don't already get sick pay for the likes of employment support allowance, incapacity benefit or DLA or anything, you may be entitled to something like that. And your doctor will be able to help you get your diagnosis so that you can actually get those benefits as well. If you do work, how many hours a week do you work? Do you work part-time to accommodate for the amount of pain you're in, or do you still work full-time? And do you take a lot of time off work because of your pain and sickness, etc.? These are all things that you really should know to take with your doctor. Take to your doctor rather. I think I've covered the majority of what I think is really important. If there's anything that you think that I've missed out on, pop it in the comments below so that other people watching this can actually get some information that I have missed out on. A lot of this stuff I have used myself whenever I was going to my appointments. Some of it I picked up since then. I do definitely 100% recommend that you keep a diary of your pain and take notes with you to your doctor so that you can get the diagnosis you need, so you can get the medication you need, because unless you get that diagnosis, you're not going to be getting the right pain to help you. The right pain medication to help you. For me, since I got diagnosed, it's been a case of trying different medications, and until I was diagnosed, I wasn't getting anywhere near the right amount of medication to help me. So, I hope this video has been helpful to you. Let me know in the comments below what you've thought of this video. Also give me a thumbs up if it has been helpful, and don't forget to subscribe, and also pop over to my vlogging channel so that you can actually see what it's like for me on a day-to-day basis living with a chronic illness. Just remember that just because we're a sick person, we're sick people, doesn't mean to say that our whole life is depressing. And we're still people, which is why I wanted to do the vlogging every day. People can see how I feel on a day-to-day basis, and also how my pain affects me. So people can see how my pain affects me on a day-to-day basis, and also what my life entails now that I am in so much pain and have so much fatigue, etc. So anyway guys, that's all for this week. I will see you all in my next video. Love yous. Mwah. Bye bye.